Let's get on board Madhavan Menon. He's the Chairman Managing Director. We talk about the outlook ahead for the company. Are there more acquisitions on the cards and what are the trends? Thanks so much for taking time out. Mr. Menon, to begin with, take us through the highlights in terms of the quarter gone by and what's the reason for the revenue fall.
The numbers that we are announcing today don't necessarily compare to a year ago for a variety of reasons. First of all, on the standalone, we had the offer for sale that was undertaken last year in the same quarter, and which is obviously an exceptional item which is not being replicated in the current year. In the consolidated numbers, a year ago we had Quest being consolidated in its entirety into our numbers, whereas today in this current year we are not consolidating the entire numbers because they have become an associate, and therefore we are only accounting for 49.02% of their profits. Even here we are writing off the entire profits as we are amortizing goodwill. Now, coming back to the numbers, if I look at the standalone numbers for the period ended December 31, 2018, you will see that our seasonal loss has declined from 21.4 crores to 9.3 crores.
All right. Let's also talk about then the segmental revenue, if you could break that for us. And will travel and related services continue to drive growth for Thomas Cook?
I'm pleased to report that both travel as well as foreign exchange drove the growth this time. Obviously, travel drove it much more than the foreign exchange business did. And this was the travel part was driven by both the outbound as well as the inbound, both of which registered significant growth in numbers.
Okay, let's talk about your margins. What is the outlook here?
You know, we've always said our margins are steady. We've actually registered a slight growth in our overall margins. And what I'm pleased to report is that this is a reflection of demand in the market. This is further validated by the fact that our leisure business actually recorded double-digit growth, both at the revenue line as well as at the bottom line. If you look at the inbound business, we've seen significant growth in the margins. On the foreign exchange side, we've seen an improvement in margins primarily because we saw our retail business kick in significantly, and that has contributed to the growth in the margins.
Okay. What about your forex business and your forex business essentially in general? Is that taking a hit because we have seen quite a lot of resilience come by in the US dollar?
You know, all these things happen despite the weakening of the rupee, and that is primarily because we hedge all our exposures in its entirety as the transaction is done. But the reality is that our prepaid card is doing extremely well. Our online sale of foreign exchange has been doing very well, and therefore I expect that retail will continue to kick in the next couple of quarters, and this will improve the foreign exchange business yields significantly.
And finally, leave us with some guidance, Mr. Madhavan. What's the outlook in the coming months for Thomas Cook?
So we don't give guidance, but just looking at the forward bookings that we are witnessing in our travel businesses, I'm happy to say that the current quarter will look equally good. Even though it is an investment quarter in the leisure business, but my expectation is that we will still register growth in the travel businesses in the the last quarter, sorry.
All right. Okay, great. So thanks so much for joining in on Eating Now and helping us understand what went by in the quarter for Thomas Cook. Well,